guys. Today I wanted to explore the idea of faith or trust, which is what that word means to me. Yeah. Exploring faith in one's life. Oh wow, it's really windy. Maybe I go walk this way. Maybe I have to figure out where the wind's coming from and stop in a position, because otherwise I might end up recording a video and it being completely unintelligible. Yeah, at the moment I'm in the south of Tenerife, and I've been here since the beginning of December, and it's felt like a somewhat disorientating process coming back here, because I was staying in a really nice community before I left, which was very nourishing for me. And I think one of the things that actually kind of drove me into maybe having the courage to make a move towards a community was the fact that I feel my lifestyle here in Tenerife was starting to make me feel a bit sick. Just the style of life I have and living by myself, just spending so much of my time alone, which would then cause me to be looking at my phone more than is healthy. And it's somehow I just feel it's quite disorientating for the body to spend too much time alone with one's own thoughts. I don't know. Perhaps from an evolutionary point of view, this is very unnatural for us, and we've evolved in tribes to have very close and deep connections. I think that perhaps, for me at least anyway, this body perceives being alone too much as like a risk, a risk to survival, and then it turns on some of the danger signals, which is nervousness, anxiety. And arriving back here, I think perhaps my first thought, one of the first thoughts that came into my head is like, God, how did I do this for so long? It felt very disorientating. It felt strange, like almost like walking back into a very quiet dream. And it became clear to me, oh wow, I should really sort of, perhaps life wants to move to the next thing, and I should prepare to leave as soon as I can. I've been to visit a few communities in Tenerife, and so far none have really sort of connected with me with a strong yes inside, like, okay, this is a good place for me to go. Just arriving back, I spent a couple of days in a place in the north, and just coming back and suddenly feeling, well, perhaps I need to keep my locker for the month of February now. I have a certain notice period I have to give. And I feel sometimes there's such an anxiety in me to have the future figured out, and often different collections of different worries come into my brain at once, which is sometimes not necessarily immensely productive, because obviously you worry about a few things at once, you don't really do anything, it's not very resourceful or empowering. Today I have this ache and pain all down the right side of my face, and it hurts a bit when I swallow, and I sometimes think to myself, as much as I enjoy playing music, I want something else in my life, something more something that life is evolving toward. In my head I try and figure out, what is it? What could it be? You know, a need to know. And this morning I was sitting in the park, out the little green parky area outside where I'm keeping my stuff, and I was remembering a conversation I had with a girl in the community I was staying last summer, and she said, what would you do today if you imagined that everything was just going to work out, you know? Everything, like all of your, what's really needed for this human, and what direction and what action needs to be taken, it's just all going to become obvious when it appears. And everything is just, you don't have to make any effort towards making life work and figuring things out. And what would you do today if that were the case? And yeah, I don't know, the question brought a certain kind of openness in me. And I remember that day I ended up going in, at the time I was a bit frustrated because I kind of lost my voice, so I hadn't been working for a while, but I remember I cycled into town and I bought a load of new clothes, and maybe I had a haircut, I think I had a haircut as well, and I just wandered around the street and just enjoyed that and relaxed. And I sat in a cafe and did some writing and watched some people in the square, and later on perhaps some feelings of still agitation and frustration came back again, but still it was like, wow, I relaxed into this moment. And when I thought about that story, what would I do today if I just had a trust that everything that I needed to know was going to appear in the time it needed, and perhaps I'm not going to get everything that I want, but actually life is going to provide me with everything that I need, and everything is infinitely taken care of for me here. How would I act today? And just as the thought came in, I noticed a bit more relaxation in myself, and just an enjoyment for sitting there and appreciating how wonderful my classical guitar sounds, and how nice it was to just sing some music for no other reason than it felt touching, without any need to make any effort. My voice doesn't feel especially that great today to perform. I don't know. I think that it feels like quite a sane way to live one's life. And I'm not talking about an attitude of passivity, but I'm just saying a trusting. In my experience, in my mind, I always want to control everything. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's happening. I want to understand the blueprints. I don't like to feel that, yeah. And but it can sometimes feel like such an old habit, you know? It can sometimes feel that it's difficult. It's such an old habit to trust our thinking, and to feel that some kind of effort is is really required. I mean, what a lovely sound. Um, I mean, sometimes in life I have felt inspired to do things which does take a little bit of effort. And I guess that's not really the kind of effort that I mean, but the effort to be in control and to know. So here I am, and I feel kind of quite relaxed in a way to have this day off, and yeah, to feel a little bit sick, but not too bad. A few things I fancy doing. One of them making this little video. But I wonder what your guys' perspective is. What does faith really mean for you? How has that deepened in your life? What have you found helpful? What's really challenging you with regards to trust at the moment? And perhaps, you know, we can actually learn together and explore together. I think as human beings are designed to intended for set up for exploring life and feeling together. You know, I've been watching one interest of mine recently, well, not just recently, but is kind of breath work. And there's this guy whose videos I've been watching, and he does this thing called Soma breath or something. It's kind of a somatic breathing practice. And he's talking about how he notices that often in breathwork sessions, it's often when people have a hand put on them or something spoken to them, that something really moves in them. And he suggested the idea that most of us are wounded in our relationships, and therefore actually our healing also happens in relationship. And yeah, he said some quote that I thought was really sweet. He said, deep down, we don't really want to get rid of our sadness. We don't want to get rid of our pain or any of parts of our experience, but we want to be seen. We want to be witnessed, and we want to express and see. We want to feel that we are arising in the person that we are with. And maybe that's not the exact way he said it, but it really touched me, because in moments with friends and companions that I've really felt like I've shared intimacy with, maybe they're sharing something that's difficult or painful, the love that I feel is really, as I feel, it's like they are arising within me. This is and what this guy was postulating is that this is really what trauma is, that we all have experienced trauma, is where we are experiencing something that is difficult, but feel it is not seen, not acknowledged. And so, yeah, I guess in a way, part of the reason that I feel like starting to kind of make videos like this is that I just want to break out of my perfectionism, which is kind of a trauma response, I believe. And just sort of say, whoa, this is what's going on for me now. And what do you guys think? What's your experience been? And maybe we can learn and really be touched by one another's experience. I just feel a movement to share a little bit more of my inner world in my life, um, because I know that who I really am is beyond everything that is appearing and moving in this world. So therefore, yeah. Therefore, I want to look and love with curiosity what is happening in this lived experience. I didn't quite put that across the way that I quite wanted to, but who cares? Sending everybody lots of love from here in Tenerife.